There is a very good chance that's going to go down as one of the greatest comebacks in UFC title fight history. I mean, when you consider all the context of that comeback, when you consider the fact that Usman was going out there and absolutely dominating him and how dominant of a champ he was, when you consider the fact that Edwards was out there basically fighting not to lose. He had cashed it in, appeared as though he had given up hope of winning. And then he comes back and scores a head kick knockout like that. Man, what a crazy fight. But that's the sport we love, right? On the one hand, it comes out there and it goes a lot like we expected. Now, everyone knew going into this fight how dangerous a striker Leon Edwards was. And it starts off, and that's exactly what we see. Edwards is using a little bit of movement on the outside, showing a little bit of quick, crisp striking, particularly the kicks. You could tell that they were going to be a part of his game plan. He was going to be using them to keep the distance. But lo and behold, one thing leads to another, and we're less than 2 minutes into the fight, and Leon Edwards is on his back with Kamaru Usman on top. And that's not an uncommon place to be in a Kamaru Usman fight. But as bad as that may seem, they stand back up during the clinch, and then Leon Edwards is able to get the takedown. And from the takedown, he's able to get Usman's back, locks up a body triangle, threatens with the rear naked choke, ends the round in the dominant position. Now look, imagine that. How many times do we see Kamaru Usman lose a round? How many times do we see Kamaru Usman even get taken down? Much less get his back taken, get submissions threatened, loses the round. I mean, look, if you're Leon Edwards, the only thing that you could hope that would have been better than that was to start that fight and get an early stoppage. But other than that, that was about as good a start as you could hope for. I have to imagine Leon Edwards was going back to his corner and his confidence was sky high at that point. Now, the problem for Leon is the rest of the fight didn't go like the first. Usman comes out, man, he is just such an animal. He just comes out in that second round, and basically that was the beginning of the rest of the fight. Usman comes out there, puts his foot on the gas pedal, starts applying pressure, backing Edwards up, landing hard shots, working behind the jab, forcing Leon Edwards to use a lot of movement, forcing him to be uncomfortable, not letting him get the range he wants, not letting him get the rhythm, throwing a lot of really hard shots, forcing the clinches, scoring multiple takedowns. I mean, just bullying Edwards. And that was the advice, actually, that Leon Edwards' corner gave him after the second round. He's sitting there in the corner on the stool in between the second and third round, and his corner is telling him, don't let him bully you. Those are the words they're using. They would only say that because that's what they see. They know how Usman fights. They're preparing for this, and that's what they see starting to happen. They see that momentum starting to build. Third round, same thing. Multiple takedowns from Usman. He's pushing Leon Edwards against the cage. He's landing body shots. He's going upstairs. And every single time we see Leon Edwards start to get something going, every single time he starts to land one shot here, one shot there, Usman just immediately shuts it down. He ramps it up. He turns all the momentum back in his favor and just starts doing damage. I mean, it's incredibly impressive when you consider just how good Leon Edwards was. This title shot wasn't gifted to him. He earned this the hard way. He went out there and put on an incredibly impressive win streak against opponent after opponent. And then he goes in there against the champ, and he's just getting wiped out, man. Pretty much dominated. Fourth round, more the same. Fifth round, more the same. They eventually go to Dean Thomas. Fight's going on, middle of the round. They ask Dean Thomas, hey, what do you think here? And I'm paraphrasing, but Dean Thomas said, Leon Edwards is a broken fighter. He's basically cashed it in. At this point, he's no longer trying to win. He's trying not to lose. That's what Usman does to guys. That's how much pressure he can apply. That's how strong he is. That's how dominant he is when he comes out there, man. He just breaks guys' spirits. Joe Rogan, Daniel Cormier, they all echoed the same thing after the end of the fourth round. Leon Edwards had basically hung it up. He was going through the motions. He just didn't want to get stopped. Another thing that they said was he was probably going to consider it a moral victory if he made it the distance. And then, man, just like that, less than 1 minute left in the fight, Leon Edwards goes out there and he catches lightning in a bottle. Throws the left hand to disguise it, goes with just an absolute beautiful left high kick. Man, Usman, he caught the left hand, slipped his head off to the right, and Leon Edwards, with the perfect type of technique that he's known for, throws that left high kick, just catches Usman directly in the jaw, and he was out before he even hit the ground. I mean, lights out. That was the Hail Mary for Leon Edwards, man, and it came through strong. No ground and pound needed, no follow-up. Herb Dean came in there and just waved it off. It was obvious that the fight was over at that point. And just like that, Leon Edwards' name will go down in the history books as the welterweight champion of the world for the most prominent MMA organization in the game right now. You know, it wasn't pretty. He definitely didn't win the majority of the fight. But when it's all said and done, he was the man with his hand raised. And I know he has to feel absolutely great about that. It'll be interesting to see what happens at this point. Because let's be honest. He knows that he went out there and he was getting dominated for the majority of that fight. He knows what that felt like more than anybody else. We were watching it. We know what it looked like. But he knows what it felt like. Now, he's got to go back to the drawing books. He's got to go back to the gym. He's got to go prepare because at this point in time, everybody's putting a target on his back, including Usman. I mean, Usman was an incredibly dominant champion. We were talking about him as the greatest welterweight of all time, potentially. Right? He was in the debate. We were talking about him as a pound-for-pound great fighter. And now he went out there, and while putting on the type of performance that he's known for, he gets his lights turned out. Man, he's not going to accept that easily. He's not going to accept that nicely. He's not going to lay down. He's certainly not going to move up to 185. Not when Adesanya's up there. What's he going to do? Cut off one of his legs and drop down to 150? We know what's going to happen. He's at 170. The only question is whether or not he's going to get an immediate rematch or not. Man, I can't wait to see what's going to happen at this point. So let me know what you guys think. Were you as impressed with what Usman brought? Were you as jumped out of your seat, shocked when you saw that knockout from Edwards? And what do you think is going to be next for each man? And how does that shake up the division? Let me know what you guys think.